welcome to Chimp on Cars. Today we've got a video on roundabouts. As you can see, I've set a camera up so that we can look at a roundabout and talk about the gaps for joining a roundabout. I know this is something that a lot of learner drivers do struggle with, finding gaps to get onto roundabouts, and hopefully we can clear up a few points here and give you some really good pointers on how to find a gap to join a roundabout. So first of all, then we've got this red car approaching. That's an easy gap. Look at what's coming around the roundabout. This is a more interesting one. So we've got this black car coming around. You see the way it's moving away from the roundabout, had its indicator on. So that was clearly holding up the blue pickup truck. That gave us a nice gap too. That's a good one to look at. Don't just look at what's coming out of that road like the black car. Look at the bus that's coming around the roundabout. Look at its position. Look at the way it's definitely coming off the roundabout. And then next we've got the silver car coming around the back of the roundabout. Notice how that was keeping a lot tighter, a lot slower. So that was coming all the way around. That was definitely causing us to stop. Definitely don't want to pull out in front of once, keeping that tight to the inside of the roundabout. Okay, so now let's turn our attention to cars coming out of that road. See the dark coloured car there. It was in the left-hand lane, no indicator on it, kept to its left-hand lane. So that was definitely coming past us. Definitely going to cause us to have to wait. It's another one waiting to come out there. You can see the way they're positioning, no indicators on, and another black car coming out behind it. See the way they're just keeping straight across there. So they're definitely coming past us. We don't want to put out in front of cars that are doing that, of course. So now would be a good time to remind you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you think you're getting value from this, and give it a thumbs up if you're liking what you're seeing here and you're thinking it might help you to pass your driving test. Okay, so now we've got some cars coming around from the back of the roundabout, coming off before they get to us, so a good opportunity to get onto the roundabout if we want to join it. That red car there just slowing down the black car that wanted to come onto the roundabout, gives us a bit of a gap to get going. So now we've got a couple of cars coming past us. It's definitely not joining the roundabout while they're coming through, and the Range Rover too. So this silver car that's approaching the roundabout, I'm just freezing the frame here. You're going to notice that they come to a virtual stop because they can see something coming around the back of the roundabout. See them slowing right down there. Now, as it turns out, it wasn't a good gap for us, but we can just notice them slowing down. Just see, they can see what we can't see around the back of the roundabout, of course, and we need to bear that in mind. We can tell from their speed what might be coming around the back of the roundabout, just from noticing their speed, noticing them slowing down if there is something coming around the back there. Okay, so the roundabout's just getting a little bit busy here, so if we was trying to join the roundabout we might be having to wait with a little bit of patience, waiting for a good clear gap to allow us to emerge onto the roundabout. Now the idea when we're joining the roundabout is that we can get onto the roundabout without causing somebody else to have to slow down or swerve, and it's the traffic from the right that we're giving way to. As you probably know by this stage of learning to drive, that we don't want to cause any of them any inconvenience by us joining the roundabout. That's the rule. And that's why we're looking for gaps to get onto this roundabout. Now a good way to practice roundabouts is of course to get out in a car and practice either with a driving instructor or with a friend or family member. And if you're going to use your own car or a friend or family member's car, then there's a link in the top right of the screen here for some short-term insurance specifically tailored for learner drivers to protect people's no claims bonuses, so they happily take you out to get this practice done. So we've got these three vehicles coming through here, and now we can see there's a nice clear gap. So if we were waiting, we'd be getting going onto the roundabout at this point. Let these two through. If we were waiting now, let those two through. And now again we've got a nice gap before that next silver car comes across. That was plenty of room for us to get going, get onto the roundabout and not cause them to slow down or swerve. And now let's look, we've got a nice big gap here. See how slow that black car's coming around the back of the roundabout. That just slowed down all that traffic that was waiting to come out from the right there. Gave us an elongated gap there, plenty of time to get going. So now we're just waiting for these guys to clear through, and here we go again, another short gap, marginal gap, while that slow moving learner came through. And then after that we've got a few more cars coming from the right here, big block of them coming out from the junction, so we'll be waiting patiently. And then here we can see all the cars coming from the right all come to a nice standstill because of that silver van. That gave us another gap to get going to. We could have taken advantage of that if we was there ready in first gear or in drive if it's an automatic car ready to get going. So again, a car coming through from the right. Now look at this car, black car coming around the back of the roundabout, just slowed down the van for us, gave us a really good clear gap. A white car coming around the back of the roundabout as well. Again, just slows the cars coming down from coming out from the right there. So it's a lot of the time we're not just looking for traffic coming out of that junction on the right, we're looking for cars coming around the back of the roundabout, which slows down the traffic coming out from the right. That's what's giving us some nice easy gaps to take, easy gaps to get onto the roundabout, and we can take advantage of those if we're looking out for them. Now we've got a nice big clear gap. If only all the roundabouts were like this when you was taking your driving test, it would be amazing, wouldn't it? So car coming up from the right, so there we go, we'd wait for that one to come through. Okay, so next up we've got a slightly unusual situation, but it's one we need to be prepared for if we're going to drive out on the roads. So whether you've passed your test already or whether you are still learning to drive, makes no difference. Let me know in the comments what you think you ought to do in this situation. So first of all, we're going to hear an ambulance approaching from the right, but it could be any emergency vehicle, and then we're going to see the ambulance approach the roundabout from the right hand side. So what do you think your priorities are? If you get an emergency vehicle, you're trying to join a roundabout, what do you think you ought to do? Should you get across the roundabout quickly, or should you just wait where you are? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching my video on judging gaps for joining roundabouts. I really do hope it's helped you and benefited you. Give it a thumbs up if you think that it has. And there's a link in the description if you want to share this with any of your friends, family members that might be struggling with roundabouts or have a driving test coming up. So watch this over and over again to help you to look at the gaps, find the gaps, judge the gaps. That's a great thing to do. You can also get that insurance policy that I spoke about to get out and practice a bit more in your own car or a family car. The link for that's in the description too. And of course you can also stand near a roundabout and watch it, as I've set my camera up here to do. You can quite easily stand in a safe place on a footpath and look at the gaps, maybe with an experienced driver, and get them to help you judge when would be a safe time to join a roundabout. So hope it's helped. See you in the next video.